Warning: the following video contains spoilers relating to the content in question. If you do not wish to be spoiled, click out of this video now.
Many people seem to agree that when it comes to the Elder Scrolls, your very first Elder Scrolls game will probably end up being your favorite. Well, here I am, a schmuck introduced to the Elder Scrolls franchise through Skyrim, and I can say with absolute confidence that I think the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind is the far superior game. If I had one real major problem with Skyrim, it's that it sorely lacked any role-playing features with any kind of depth. I mean, the role-playing elements were there, don't get me wrong, but Bethesda just really streamlined those kind of features to make the game more accessible to a wider audience, and in the process, sacrificing any kind of deep role-playing experience the game could have had. And the main reason why I ultimately like Morrowind way better than Skyrim is because where Skyrim failed to deliver, Morrowind did deliver. Morrowind is certainly not a game for those with very little patience. It doesn't hold your hand, the combat can be incredibly frustrating, especially at the beginning, and especially if you don't plan out your stats and your skills very well. Like, it's enough to make anybody frustrated, and it's enough to make people want to quit the game altogether. But if you have the patience for it, and if you plan everything out very well, there is a very rewarding experience and a truly incredible game to experience. The combat in Morrowind is a statistics, dice roll-based system that can be incredibly frustrating, especially at the beginning. Like, you could have a long sword, you could go right up to a rat, and you would miss a bunch of times at point-blank range. And you could even fail to cast a spell pretty often. And yeah, with a system like that, that could turn a lot of people off, and it is incredibly frustrating. Me personally, yeah, it is a major pain in the ass, and when I first played it, it actually did turn me off from the game for a little while. But hey, I figured if I could suffer through Fallout 1 and 2's combat system, I can suffer through Morrowind's. And I'm just a guy who will suffer through any kind of shitty combat or shitty gameplay a game could throw at me, as long as there is a good story and an amazing world to experience. And besides, once you develop your skills well enough, and once you get good weapons or armor and or spells, like, the combat gets mercifully easier and you'll hardly ever miss. Like I said, it just takes a little patience, a little leveling up, a little practicing your skills that will end up being rewarded. And Morrowind's leveling system is very similar to Skyrim's. You have a set of skills that you have to practice, and through practicing them, that's how you level up. Only in Skyrim you had, the perk tree that had a bunch of abilities that you unlock through perk points once you level up. Well, in Morrowind, there's none of that. You have a list of attributes like, strength, intelligence, agility, and, stuff like that. And you had a list of skills, major and miscellaneous skills, or wait, no, it was minor skills. So yeah, major and minor skills, and those are the only skills that will count towards leveling up. So at the beginning of the game, you have a list of 27 skills, and you have to pick 5 to be in your majors and 5 to be in your minors. And those 10 skills are going to be the skills that actually level you up, and they're going to start off far better than the ones you neglected. So, in other words, you have to choose skills that you're actually going to use and put them into your majors or your minors. So, in other words, you have to choose 10 out of 27 skills and neglect the rest. So basically, you have to be very picky and choosy with what skills you want to use. For example, if you want to be like, if you decide at the beginning to be like a pure mage and concentrate purely on destruction, conjuration, magical skills like that, but then sometime, like say around level 10, you decide, well, maybe Longblade will be useful. Well, it's pretty much already too late, because you neglected it from your major and minors, you're gonna be shit with it, and even if you do use it, it's not gonna count towards your leveling up. Although later in the game, when you've maxed out your major and minor skills, it certainly is possible to become a jack of all trades and practice the skills you neglected. Although by that point, against the highest level enemies, like, a lot of the skills you neglected will probably fall disastrously short in combat. So it would probably be good to have a buttload of money for training. And actually, you might want to do that anyway, if you want to join certain guilds or factions in the game. In Skyrim, I had a major pet peeve with the guilds. Any kind of character could join any of the 4 guilds and become the leader of those guilds by completing their storylines. In Morrowind, to join the guilds, you have to have a certain set of skills that corresponds with their overall theme. For example, you can't join the Mages Guild if you're not skilled in magic. And to join the Fighters Guild, you have to be skilled in like Longblade, heavy armor, and so on. And the guilds don't have some kind of convoluted storyline where you become leader by the end of them. Like, the guilds in Morrowind, they have a varied range of jobs for you to do, and you advance through the ranks by doing those jobs and having the required skills to get promoted. I mean, this system is much more natural, and more how you'd expect these kinds of guilds to operate. And once again, specializing in certain skills at the beginning could lock you out of certain factions in the game. And if you want to join those factions, you'll have to level up the skills you neglected accordingly. And of course, no great RPG is complete without great side quests, and Morrowind is chock full of them. Ranging from solving murders, to escorting pilgrims and slaves, to stealing for cutthroat merchants. The side quests of Morrowind are varied. Many of them have many choices, or just many different ways to complete them based on your skills. And the quests for the guilds range from simple fetch or kill quests to quests that require many different ways to complete the quest. For example, there are quests where you have to either use stealth to steal from someone, or use speechcraft to convince them to hand over whatever it is you're after, or you have to just straight up kill them, failing all that. This is where speechcraft, a skill that was pretty much useless in Skyrim, is a frickin' godsend in Morrowind. And the world of Morrowind takes notice of your actions, and the disposition of NPCs rises or declines with your reputation. If you commit a bunch of crimes and get a high bounty, people will take notice of that, and their disposition will decrease. Or if, say, you join House Redoran, that'll decrease the disposition of Hlalu and Telvanni characters. Or if you join the Mages Guild and rise through the ranks, it'll decrease the disposition of Telvanni characters towards you. Which makes certain Mages Guild quests involving Telvanni characters that much tougher. Unless, of course, you have a good speechcraft skill or a good illusion spell. But of course, what about the main quest? Well, the main quest of Morrowind is a really good one. The main villain, Dagoth is great. It adds a ton of lore about the Dwemer. You learn a lot about, the false gods of the Tribunal Temple, the Battle of Red Mountain, it's just a great, well-written quest line. But what about the main quest of Morrowind? Well, Morrowind has a really good one. Like, starting off with you having to find out about the Nerevarine, the Tribunal, and the Tribunal Temple, and, like, it moves at a great pace, it has well-written, great characters, and the villain, Dagoth is just great. And it also adds a bunch of lore about the dwarves, the history of the Dunmer, the history of Nerevar, and, like, the Battle of Red Mountain, and how the Tribunal, like, the three false gods first came to be. Like, it's just such a great, well-written story that adds a lot onto what I learned out the world of Elder Scrolls from Skyrim. I will say this, Morrowind fascinated me a whole lot more than Skyrim did, lore-wise and visually. I mean, even though the graphics are incredibly dated, Morrowind's world and environments is just far more unique and alien and incredibly varied. I mean, all the cities have different architecture. Like, the Telvanni cities are made up of, like, giant mushrooms. Like, the Redoran cities have houses made from the shells of giant insects. Like, Imperial settlements have, like, stone castles and houses that aren't unlike those you'd find in Skyrim. And then there's, like, the ashlands of interior Vardenfell, there's the marshes of the Bitter Coast, the plains of Azura's coast, and they're populated by some of the most unique fauna I have ever seen in a video game. Like, ranging from netches to the dinosaur-like guars, alets, and trigouties, however you pronounce them, like shalk beetles, and even, like, Daedric creatures that never even appeared in Skyrim. I mean, graphics-wise, like, Skyrim takes the cake, no fucking doubt. But I still have to give the edge to Morrowind, simply because I was more enthralled by Morrowind's more unique and alien world than I was by Skyrim's. Morrowind also had two major expansion packs, Tribunal and Blood Moon. Tribunal it basically added the city of Mournhold to the game, and its story revolved around the two Tribunal members that didn't appear in vanilla Morrowind. Tribunal had a pretty good story that basically added on to the lore of the Tribunal and served as a pretty good extension of the main quest from vanilla Morrowind. And Mournhold looked great, it had a lot of great new quests, it had a great new dungeon, and it also has one of my favorite weapons in the game. Blood Moon takes place on the island of Solstheim, the island from Skyrim's Dragonborn DLC. And even lacking the southern ashlands from Dragonborn, Solstheim is still one of my favorite places in the Elder Scrolls series. In Blood Moon, you get to build the colony of Raven Rock, or if you want, you could do an alternative quest and essentially destroy it. And there's also a great main quest line that involves Hircine, who is an absolute fucking badass in this DLC, as he sends werewolves to find worthy candidates for his Blood Moon prophecy, and you have to help the Skull who, like, are trying to thwart his plans. You have to travel to, like, places like Castle Karstag, you have to hunt a bear, and there's even some point where you get to decide between helping the Skull and becoming a werewolf and aiding Hircine. One thing that was missing from vanilla Morrowind was the ability to become a werewolf, and Blood Moon adds that ability. I only tried it once, just to do the werewolf branch of the main quest line in Blood Moon, but for me it was frustrating as fuck, and I probably won't be bothering with it again. Aside from that, Blood Moon was just more of what made Morrowind great, with a great new faction questline and a new landmass that, after exploring Morrowind for so long, would be a great breath of fresh air. Skyrim may have been my first Elder Scrolls game, but I infinitely prefer Morrowind. It gave me the deep role-playing experience that I wanted from Skyrim, it gave me a unique alien setting, and it gave me a stupendous main quest and quest lines. And any flaws Morrowind has can be easily fixed by the hundreds of mods there are available for it. But those deserve a video of their own. If you agree or disagree with this video, be sure to discuss in the comments section, and if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also be sure to check out my blog at The Critical Canucks at blogspot.ca, and also be sure to follow us on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, all that jazz. Links to all those are in the description below. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll be seeing you next time. Peace out, everybody.